Well, hello, and welcome to episode 193 of Drink the Movies. I'm Brian here, as always, with Michaela. And Michaela, there's a couple movies out there, right? You have your movies that you watch every Halloween. Maybe
Mm,
it's Friday the 13th.
for sure.
Maybe it's Nightmare on Elm Street. Maybe it's Silence of the Lambs. And you have your movies that you watch every Christmas, right? Maybe it's a Wonderful Life or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Jingle All the Way. I don't know. I don't
Mm.
know what you watch for Christmas, but everyone has those traditions, right? You watch your same things every Halloween. You watch your same things every Christmas. But sometimes you have a movie that you watch every Halloween and every Christmas. And this is that movie for me, The Nightmare Before Christmas.
That's true. That is true for you. That was not true for me until this year because spoiler warning, or
Shame.
yeah, I'd never seen Nightmare Before Christmas all the way through.
Wow.
My brother-in-law and my sister-in-law are going to be so mad because this is like their favorite movie of all time. They had their wedding that was kind of Nightmare Before Christmas themed. Um, and I knew all
Sounds
of the
like a good
things to
time.
do. It was amazing. It was amazing. And I knew all the things to do, all the themes and like the songs and stuff, but I'd never actually seen the movie. So this is my olive branch to them and to you and to anybody, because this film transformed, I think. I think I can be as bold as saying it transformed what folks thought of for full length stop animation films were possible. Like
Hmm.
this is Tim Burton, arguably at his absolute best. People love this film, even if you don't like it. You're still think it's a marvel to look at, and how they did certain things, and just the set direction and art direction. We're going to talk about all the things that it didn't win and Oscar stuff, and that's going to, yeah. But it's very I don't know. This film is very it's routinely on like the top 10 lists of the best Christmas films of all time and the best Halloween films of all time. It's really way to corner the market there on that niche, you know.
That's true. That's true. For something Disney wanted to not really have anything to do with right off the bat, they certainly embraced it. And yeah, it was number one, I believe, on the most recent Rotten Tomatoes Best Christmas Film list. So let's do this, Michaela. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. We're going to need a cocktail to get into all the reasons why I didn't watch Nightmare Before Christmas, A. And B, we need something good to go to Halloweentown and check in with Jack Skellington and see what he's got cooked up for Christmas. So let's do that. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back to whip up this week's drink.
So Brian, I was looking at because I'd never seen this film before. I needed to be inspired quite a bit to come up with a cocktail. So I started looking around and I saw a cocktail that looked amazing. It looked cozy. It looked kind of like a mix between something that you would want to do with a fire near you, like a, because it's got this marshmallow on top that's all roasted and beautiful. It looked maybe like it had Jack Daniels in it. I was really excited. And then when we decided to meet up and actually put this drink together, we both actually read the ingredients and realized that there's a ghost pepper reduction or a hot sauce reduction in
Hmm.
this.
Yes, yes, there is.
And both of us looked at me and said, "What were you thinking? This
We did.
is
We
this is going
did.
to be
I looked
real
at
interesting."
you. You looked into a mirror. Yeah, so a little bit of behind the scenes here. Michaela does pick most of our drinks, and by and large, most of the films we talk about too. But that's not always the case. But yeah, she does normally pick the drinks. So I get over there. We're getting ready to make this, and I'm 100% sure that Michaela's eyes did not veer past that picture of the cocktail because we started looking at the ingredients, and I said, "What the heck is this? Is that going to come together?" And the answer is yes and no. I don't know. Let's make one of these. It is called the Nightmare Before Christmas cocktail. It comes from an article in The Alchemist, but it is coming from the Fairmont Empress Q Bar. You might know the Empress Q Bar because that is the birthplace of Empress Gin. So go check that out. They have a whole like Empress cocktail menu and then other cocktails as well. And a lot of them are very inspired. And that's what this is. Let's talk just through the ingredients here real quick, and then we'll talk a little bit about kind of what we think and what we think
Hmm.
maybe the intention was and stuff like that. So go ahead and into a shaker tin, you're going to put in 1.5 ounces of Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey, number seven. Preferably, if you can't get that, you could use kind of any other, I guess, bourbon probably that you wanted to, or blended whiskey. But this one's calling specifically for Jack Daniel's. 3/4 of an ounce of ghost pepper reduction or other hot sauce. Put a pin in that there. 1 ounce of lemon juice, and then going to go ahead and shake that up, strain it into like a little like a little like snifter or some sort of like little cup, and then you're going to put a half ounce of Amaro Averna on top of it. You can garnish it with a toasted marshmallow, as Michaela mentioned. Their sip and enjoy. They also call for some powdered blood orange if you want to go that route as well. It's going to give you just a little bit of aroma of that orange on the nose. You sip and you get into this, and Michaela. I don't know. We have to talk about this ghost pepper reduction thing, first of
We
all,
do.
right? So it says in the recipe, right, 3/4 of an ounce of ghost pepper reduction or other hot sauce. So we don't have ghost pepper reduction. Wasn't really that interested in making ghost pepper reduction. Not even 100% sure what a ghost pepper reduction is, to be quite honest. But we had some hot sauces at our ready. We could try. Now we tried first with like a Texas Pete or Tabasco sauce. Now those are pretty white vinegary. I would steer clear of those. Um, but what you want to do is you want to get some heat in there. And I think if you find like a nice high quality hot sauce, especially this time of year, Christmas, right? They've always got like those gift sets out for people who are like the hot sauce lover in your life. If you find a nice high quality one, I think that would be okay. But I would steer clear of those big brands because of that white vinegar content.
Yeah. Yeah. And we didn't think about it until we were, halfway to tasting this and wondering what we had done with our lives. But I think that's true. If you're going to look at making this and recreating it, first of all, if you want to create your own ghost pepper reduction, have at it. I like my taste buds and I wanted to keep them, so I did not do that. But
A word of
look at a
warning.
hot sauce,
A word
and
of
if the
warning. Disclaimer from Drink to Movies. If you're going to do that, wear eye protection, wear gloves. Yeah, do it in
yes,
a
oh
well-ventilated
gosh,
space. Don't take our advice on ghost peppers dealing with
yeah,
those. That's
don't.
dangerous business. But do you do you.
Yeah. Notice we didn't do it. So we don't recommend that you do it. But if you're going to look at a hot sauce, right, look at the ingredients in the back. And if the first three ingredients are vinegar, say no, just don't do it.
Mhm.
Pick something else. I was hoping, I don't know what I was hoping. I was thinking because we have done a lot of like really tough peppery tinctures where we only add a couple of drops and it just
Mhm.
adds like a hint of heat, or like at the very beginning of the sip experience, you kind of get this heat on your lips. I was thinking maybe it would be more like that. This it just created this really acerbic, very vinegary kind of drink. And the Amara Verna, I want to talk a little bit about that too, because that is a very famous Amaro. It's
Mhm.
made in Italy. It was named after Salvatore Averna, who invented this in 1868. So this is one of the oldest liqueurs ever, I think. It's
Right?
pretty
Yeah.
cool. It only called for half an ounce of that. And I was thinking that was going to sit at the top. And so we were going to get this like kind of um, herbal, like wine, almost kind of same viscosity as like a sherry or a vermouth sort of thing at the front. But no, that for whatever reason, it's sunk to the bottom. And so the first sips you get are literally just Jack Daniels and some hot sauce. And the lemon juice, we put a whole ounce of that. That's what the recipe calls for. That's a lot. That's a lot of acidity to mix with the uh vinegar. It was rough.
It was a lot. It was a lot. Yeah. So obviously that's out the window. Don't do that. Don't use Tabasco. Don't use Texas Pete in this. That's not what you want to do. What you want to do is, like Michaela said, find a good high quality uh you know hot sauce, right? That's one way you could do it. Still not my preferred way. I think my preferred way to do this, in a much more delicious way, is going to be a couple of things. You can either there's like an ancho chili liqueur out there. You could get that. You could even do like a pepper like vodka. Like a pepper vodka, I think would be okay. And that you probably wouldn't want to use 3/4 of an ounce. But I think what you could do, because you're really just trying to get some heat in there, right, to play off that lemon, the amaro, the whiskey. You just want a little bit of bite to it. So I think what I would suggest doing is to get like I don't know like a spicy like a pepper jelly, right? Like a jalapeno jelly or habanero jelly or something like that because that's going to give you some heat and it's also going to get you just a touch of sugar because this thing is real strong, right? You got whiskey, you've got Amaro in there, you've got lemon juice, which is a real strong flavor. So I think something that has a little bit of sweetness is going to go a long way here. And pepper jelly is not overly sweet by any means, right? It's perfectly
Yeah.
enjoyable on crackers, especially get a jar anyway. You're going to need some for your holiday parties, for sure. So I would do that, right? I would do 3/4 of an ounce of some sort of pepper jelly, or something like that. And maybe that's what the ghost pepper reduction was. And they just didn't, clarify that any better in the article we were reading there. But yeah, this was really interesting, and I could definitely taste what they were going for. We were misses on ours, but maybe in the lobby bar we'll revisit this one here the week either before this comes out or the week after it comes out, and see if we can clarify. And we'll be talking about that over on our Patreon Discord as well, what we thought about those flavors.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, now that we have those made, let's go ahead and we'll make up another one, I guess, Michaela. I don't know. We're not going to have any time for drinking a cocktail during this. We're going to be singing right alongside of Sally and Jack. So let's do that. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back to chat about this week's film, The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Welcome to an extraordinary world filled with magic and wonder. Open your mind and let yourself go to a place where every day is Halloween and every night Jack Skellington
I am the Pumpkin King!
dreams of something different.
What is this? It's someplace new.
Jack, look out!
Touchstone Pictures presents the enchanting story of two very special dreamers and the holiday spirit that brought them together. From the imagination of Tim Burton comes The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Spoiler warning for The Nightmare Before Christmas. If you're like me and you didn't see this movie until now, you should know we're going to talk about all the things. There's a lot of singing. There's a lot of dancing. There's a lot of really cool stuff that happens. You're going to miss it if you have not seen it and we talk about it. So you might not miss the cocktail. I'd go make myself, go listen to Brian, make yourself up one of these with the pepper jelly instead of the ghost pepper reduction or Tabasco sauce, because that is definitely going to be better. And then go watch A Nightmare Before Christmas. And then you can come back and we can chat about all the things Tim Burton.
That's right. And unless you're like Michaela, you've had plenty of time to see this. This was released in 1993. It was directed by Henry Selick, who you might know would later go on to be nominated for an Academy Award for directing Coraline. And this one stars Chris Sarandon / Danny Elfman as Jack Skellington, the Pumpkin King turned Santa Claus, and Catherine O'Hara is Sally, the only sane one around this place who tries to keep Jack from ruining everything. As you said, Michaela, this is has Tim Burton's fingerprints all over it. He actually didn't do a lot in the actual creation of the film, but he did come up with the story and the story treatment there about The Nightmare Before Christmas before it was turned over to Henry Selick, who says he is basically tasked with making a Tim Burton film, even though Tim Burton wasn't really around. Tim Burton at the time that this was being made was busy doing things like directing Batman Returns. So Henry Selick and his team of talented animators and stop motion artists got busy putting this team together, and it was nominated for one Academy Award. It was nominated for Best Visual Effects, which was the first for an animated film to be nominated in that category. And now that's pretty regular to see an animated film in there, but this was the first one to get that. So kudos there.
Kudos indeed. And I want to talk about that because I got real mad after learning that it was nominated and didn't win, right? And again, I don't know because I was doing other things like watching Jurassic Park in 1993, which did win.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really tough because as much as I love Nightmare Before Christmas, and I really did fall in love with this film this season, it is now going to be part of my repertoire forever. But it's really hard to get mad at it, comparing it to Jurassic Park and all the things that visual effects did for cinema and movie making in general. So, but let's get into it because there's a lot to love about this show. There's just a lot. There's so much going on. There's so much attention to detail.
The other best visual effects Oscar nominee that year, there were only three, was Cliffhanger. I'm going to make Michaela put that on the list there too. I don't know about the visual effects, but Sylvester Stallone climbing some mountains, count me in for that. Let's talk about the movie here, Michaela. We open right up. We open with a song. It is a banger. This is Halloween. We are introduced to all the crazy characters of Halloweentown. It's everyone who's haunted your dreams, who you've seen in a scary movie. Everyone is there, and it's kind of this. It's kind of like this grayscale sort of a town, right? It's not really black and white, but it's not very vibrant, obviously. It's very dark, very dreary, but everyone in Halloween Town is very excited because they have just pulled off their most successful Halloween ever. We go around town, we get to see the mayor, we get to see the Wolf Man, we get to see the little band walking around, and we are introduced to none other than the Pumpkin King, Jack Skellington.
Jack Skellington, who's played by two people. So Chris Sarandon is his speaking voice, and Danny Elfman sings all the things. He is known as the Pumpkin King around there, Halloweentown. Uh, really like tall, lanky. I love the style of this guy. He's like a human. He's skeleton-y, but he's also like part spider. Like he can do you definitely get like the Coraline feels, right? Because he can move backwards and his legs can all shift. I think Halloweentown is great because it is the scariest place. Like the attention to detail, you got like a mom carrying like with a really fat zombie kid drugged by a leash. You got all these people singing the Halloweentown song, and they look awful and gross, but they're also kind of cute. I don't know how he did it, how he managed to keep it being creepy and not too scary, because I imagine that a lot of kids grew up watching this film and not being scared by it, which is a pretty amazing feat considering some of the things that you're actually seeing. I mean, there's like dead heads and spiders, and they're like super creepy looking.
Yeah, absolutely. So you got the song in there. The song is absolutely amazing. I love it so much. And then you get Jack. He kind of rises up out of this fountain, right? And you're introduced to him as, I guess, like the de facto like leader of Halloweentown, right? He's the one that's in charge of all this stuff. Even the mayor, is beholden to Jack Skellington. But Jack Skellington, isn't. He's a little. It's disillusioned with Halloween, right? How many times could you pull off the perfect Halloween and not be a little bit disillusioned? So even though everyone in the town is very joyous about the fact that Halloween went off great, it's only 364 days to the next Halloween. Got to start going over the plans and things like that. But Jack's going to go in search of a moment of solace. So he's going to, walk out into the woods, travel through there, get his trusty dog Zero to come up out of his grave and accompanying him on a little walk through the woods there. You get to see Sally there, who is apparently very smitten with Jack Skellington, right? So she's also found her way to the cemetery, and she's kind of watching on as Jack is walking through here. But Jack is going to go and stumble upon a new part of the woods of the cemetery that he has never been to before, and it kind of pans around, and you get to see all of these different trees, right? There's a tree with like a bunny rabbit on it. There's a tree with like a turkey on it. There's a tree with all the things, and there's one with a Christmas tree on this, right? A Christmas tree door. And as Jack turns to kind of look away from that, tells Zero how odd that is, he's going to get whisked inside of this tree and transported to a brand new land.
What a strange place that is. I love this. This next song might be my favorite. Because he's like, what's this? What's this? There's snow on the ground. He's like, what is going on? I don't understand. People here are kind of happy. Like, it's the opposite of where I'm from. It's really kind of cool. And so he's like utterly fascinated by this new holiday. And the concept of Christmas in general is very foreign to him, which makes sense because if you're in Halloween land, everything there is dark and scary and focused on like scaring people and creeping them out. And the Christmas holiday is supposed to be about something entirely almost opposite. So he's really excited by this. He's like, I got to share this with my friends. And so he tries to go home and he's trying to explain it. They don't quite get it. I think
They
it's
do
one
not.
of those things you need to see to believe.
They do not quite understand what Jack is mentioning there as he calls the town back together after his little tryst to Christmas Town. Yeah, I love the Christmas Town section. I love the way that the snow looks here, and as he's kind of jumping through this town, right, seeing all of the Christmas sights, right. There's bright colors, there's happiness and joy. Not any nothing that's scary there is happening, and I love that stuff. And everyone in the town, they're wondering where Jack went, right? The mayor's looking for Jack. No one can find Jack. You got Sally there, who's very curious about where Jack has gone as well. We meet Sally's, I guess, creator slash caretaker, Dr. Finkelstein, is there, and you see Sally, trying to give Dr. Finkelstein the slip a couple of times because she wants to get to this meeting that Jack has called. I love he like rides back in on like this weird like creepy looking snowmobile kind of thing. He's got like a big bag of like presents and stuff that he's commandeered from Christmas Town, and he tells the mayor to call a meeting when immediately, of course. And they talk about all the things Christmas, and then you get like the fun little song where it's kind of a narrative bit. So Jack is telling everyone about Christmas, but all of the residents of Halloweentown are a little confused by it, right? Is this scary? Does it bite you? Does it sting? Why is there no like severed heads in any of these things? None of this stuff makes sense to anyone but Jack Skellington. And then you get the kind of go-between there of Jack's idyllic Christmas, having seen Christmas Town, and what I guess an idyllic Christmas would be to the inhabitants of Halloweentown.
He wants to improve the holiday, which is it's interesting. Because Christmas itself is kind of scary. There's a lot of scary stories, like the Christmas Carol is actually a ghost story, right? Talking about, what happens if you're not a good person, you go to hell, you burn alive, right? So it doesn't really it feels kind of okay that you would want to improve these things in a scary way. But he's got this great idea that Halloween Town's going to take over Christmas this year. He assigns some really cool jobs. I love this scene when he has the band and he tries to explain how Jingle Bells needs to work, and they make it into this like really scary version of Jingle Bells. I don't know how they do it. I am not a musician. Danny Elfman, you're a genius. It's so good because it immediately makes you think of like, I don't know, like organs, like in Transylvania, the way they do it, but it's still the Jingle Bell theme. Love it so much.
Yeah, that's right. He's put in charge of that. Some other people get put in charge of creating gifts, right? So we see that, kind of a little montage of everyone making Christmas. Sally gets tasked with the ultimate job there of creating Santa Claus's Santa suit, which is a good job for Sally, but she's going to have her wariness. We'll talk about that here in a second. And maybe the most important or most influential job is given to our trick-or-treaters, Lock, Shock, and Barrel, who get tasked with going to capture Santa Claus, right? You can't take over Christmas if Santa Claus is out there running around. So Jack says, "Go bring Santa Claus to me. I'm going to give him this year off." What a gift. What a gift for Santa Claus. Now, Sally is tasked with creating the Santa Claus suit, but Sally has a little bit of clairvoyancy about her. She is going to be picking some flowers, a little tree, and it's going to burst into flames, right? This little miniature Christmas tree. That is a bad sign. In Sally's eyes, it's a bad sign. In my eyes, and really, it's a bad sign in anyone's eyes. The leader of Halloweentown can't run Christmas. Those things don't coexist, do they?
Surely not.
Surely not.
But he doesn't take her seriously at all, and it makes me so sad because she's trying to explain. She's like, "I think this is a real bad idea. This isn't who you are." She ends up making this costume that looks great in and of itself, in that it's red and it's white and it's follow the directions. And I love, again, she's like, "Here's what you used to look like. Here's what you look like now. It's not the same. This isn't you. You're not being yourself." And he's like, "Whatever." And then Lock, Shock, and Barrel show up, and he says, "Hey, go bring Santa Claus to me. We're giving him the year off." And then they do, and they're like, I again, it's one of my favorite scenes. He's like, "This isn't Santa Claus. This isn't who I meant. He's not scary. He doesn't have claws. What's going on? He's got these tiny little hands." And Santa Claus, of course, is like, "What is going on? Who are you? What have you done?" And they're like, "It's fine. We're gonna do." Jack is very assured, very confident that he's gonna take care of Christmas, but Santa knows better. But they can't let him go because they don't need to be competing. So Lock, Shock, and Barrel are supposed to keep him safe, and they're under direct orders to not let anybody know, especially Oogie Boogie, because that would be bad.
That would be bad. Yeah. Lock, Shock, and Barrel are probably not the best for this job. I mean, honestly, they bring back the Easter Bunny first, right? Which is definitely not Santa Claus. Yeah, Santa Claus, no claws, not even scary at all. But Jack does get his hat from him, right, before sending him off with the boys, who are under instructions to not take him to Oogie Boogie, which is, of course, exactly where they take him because they're a bunch of knucklehead kids. So what does that leave for Jack Skellington, right? It is time. So we've got all the toys made. The songs have been sung. We've got creepy toys with like I don't know, like a duck with like fangs that has like bullet holes in them. You got like hats that have been made out of like dead like bats and raccoons and things like that. All the best gifts for the kids of the world. So it is time to go deliver them. I really like the little design of the reindeers, right? Dr. Finkelstein, his job was to create the reindeers for everyone. I like he turns them to life and they start like floating up into the air. That's a pretty cool effect. But Sally, still the only one who has her head about her, even though it is sewn on, stuffed with leaves. She's going to grab some fog juice, pour it into the fountain, and that's going to create way too much fog for Jack Skellington to take off for that night, right? Maybe Christmas is canceled. But maybe there is a Rudolph figure in the air, one with a shiny little pumpkin nose, and that is, of course, Zero, the real Christmas hero, and that rhymes, so it's true.
Yeah, I love it. And I love this montage of him finally taking off. Sally is really distraught. She's very sad. But he goes to house and basically breaks and enters. And look, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's really kind of ironic that we expect this and not expect to be scared when we're like, hey, some big fat dude is going to climb down your chimney and leave you a gift. Don't shoot him. But here it really brings it to light where you're like, I don't know. And he gives these gifts to people like these kids. And my favorite one is like the parents come down and they're like, what did Santa bring you? And it's like a head and
Yeah.
they faint, they scream and faint. It's so good. Because it's nothing good. None of these gifts are bringing joy and peace. They're bringing fear and anxiousness. And it's really causing havoc. And so the military gets involved. The military's alerted. Poor Jack is like flying on this sleigh that they made, and he's shot out of the sky, and it's really bad. Because then everybody in Halloweentown is like, "Oh my gosh, he's dead. He's been killed. This was a disaster." And of course, this is exactly what Sally was worried about, because she is really in love with Jack, and she's just everybody's very upset at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone is upset at this point, except for probably Oogie Boogie, who apparently has some sort of feud going on with Jack there, and he has Santa Claus in his stead. We get to go to Oogie Boogie's lair, right? During this section after Jack has been shot down, they call in the military and start shooting. I love he like shouts down and tells them, "Hey, you almost hit us." But we're at Oogie Boogie's now. He's doing a little bit of singing. A little bit of it's almost like a cabaret song that Oogie Boogie does, which I think is great. And it turns into like this gambling thing, right? So Oogie Boogie is a gambling man, as it turns out, and he's going to be gambling with Santa Claus's life, as it were. Sally does her best to go in and try to rescue Santa, right? Sally's the best, right? Sally and Zero. Maybe Sally and Zero should, probably just skip out of Halloweentown. To be quite honest, they should go somewhere else where they're more respected. But Sally goes. She tricks Oogie Boogie and she tries to get Santa Claus out of there, but unfortunately gets caught herself. And she's going to be there, kind of tied down to this slab that's being raised over, I don't know, some like molten lava or something like that Oogie Boogie has going on. But luckily, Jack isn't actually dead. I really like the song Jack sings after he's been shot down, and he's coming to terms with the fact that, he's not meant to be Santa Claus. He is meant to be the Pumpkin King, right? It's a little bit of self-discovery for Jack here in this instance, and he almost gets mad, that he let himself lose sight of the fact that he is the one and only mighty Pumpkin King as he makes his way back to Halloweentown just in time to save poor Sally and poor Santa Claus from the clutches of Oogie Boogie. And Oogie Boogie, his fate is the worst because it turns out he's just a bunch of little bugs inside of like a claw sack. That's pretty gross. But now Santa Claus can set things straight.
Oh yeah, because he can. He's Santa Claus. I love this. I think this is like a coming of age story, only for like adults and children. It's like it's a midlife crisis. Jack Skellington having a midlife crisis because at first he's like really dogging on Halloween. He's like, we do this every year, and yeah, this was the biggest and the best, but who cares? Like, I'm so over it. And I do like this transformation where now he's like, I've got all these great ideas now to make Halloween even more exciting, even more scary, even more spooky, even more what it's supposed to be. And so he's rushing back. I do love that. Oogie Boogie's totally disgusting. This kind of duel scene with them where, you know, the cauldron's in the middle and all these knives and stuff are showing up, and Oogie Boogie's like, come on, man. I mean, Ken Page is amazing. His voice is awesome. And I love just everything about Oogie Boogie. I love his, like, the way his voice is styled. I love all the songs that he kind of sings. I love the fact that he's got these really gross looking dice that like ooze and are red, but then he's like, snake eyes. I just love it. But yeah, Santa Claus, he just kind of, you know, as soon as he's released, his little feet step on the very last bug. I love it.
Steps on the bug. He touches
Steps on
his
the
nose.
bug, the last bug that was Oogie Boogie.
And
then he just flies
away. He flies away.
He's
Right?
like, I got this, dude.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah, like Jack's like, do you really think you can? And he's like, of course I can. I'm Santa Claus. I really love Sally then, you know, kind of comes up behind Jack and, you know, reassures him, right? Just tells him everything will be fine, that Santa can make things straight. So of course the rest of the town is happy that Jack is back, you know, including our two-faced mayor, who's maybe my favorite character in the movie, save Sally for sure. He's so funny, like through this whole thing, like how like much like anxiety he has about Jack is going to leave this town and leave him there as just the, you know, this elected official, right? He's not really cut out for any sort of responsibilities. I love that so much. But he eventually, you know, Jack gets back. You know, the town is very happy, right? That you know, at least Jack didn't lose his life in this Christmas charade that he has been out playing. And about that time, you get a really, really cool. It's almost like a paper cutout, I guess, kind of Santa Claus flying across the sky there, and then it starts to snow in Halloweentown, which you get the feeling that was the first time that had ever happened. And you see the, you know, the various monsters and things creating, you know, snow angels. You got the vampires there playing hockey with a pumpkin and that kind of stuff. And then it goes out, right? Sally is you know, tried to steal a moment for herself, and she goes up to this little curlicue hill there. It's all covered in snow now. It's very, very pretty. And Jack comes up and they share kind of this intimate moment, right? We're simply meant to be is the way that this ends, with Jack and Sally and their little spindly arms holding each other in front of the moon in the prettiest little love story shot of all time, in my estimation. So that's kind of how it ends. We went through that pretty quick, but I mean, honestly, the movie itself is only about an hour and 20 minutes long. But it does a really good job of, you know, incorporating these songs. Danny Elfman's songs here are amazing, and they do such a good job of narrating the plot, is you don't really need to have like any sort of filler. Like my favorite example of this is probably kind of that town meeting where they're having the back and forth, you know, where Jack is describing Christmas and the townsfolks are, you know, trying to analyze Christmas from, you know, their viewpoint as, you know, these Halloween terror kind of things. And it does such an amazing job of propelling the story along. You don't need any sort of extra, you know, doubling down on that, right? You're seeing it all, you're hearing it all in the songs, and that lets the story be pretty fluid, in my estimation.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, this is a pretty short film. It's one of the shortest we've ever done. It's definitely shorter than the one we did last week, which was like 3.5 hours or something. But I will say that a lot seems to kind of happen. There's so much attention to detail. I actually was watching this and thinking to myself how we could talk about it without it taking almost as long as the movie itself, because there is so much amazingness in this very short amount of time. That is one of the things that makes it so accessible to like younger viewers. It makes it accessible to people who want to watch this multiple times a year, because it's not a 2.5 hour slog, right? But it keeps it very fast paced. I really liked that about it. I mean, I can't think of anything I would have wanted from a critical perspective. I don't know if I would have wanted anything else from it. And that's, I don't know. I think that's fairly high praise for me. I usually have something to say that I don't like.
Yeah, for sure. So there must have been some reason that you didn't decide to watch this until just very recently. And a part of that was I think we had maybe already put it on the schedule, but you and I were just in Los Angeles, California, and we're going to be making our way to Disneyland. And it dawned on me, kind of the day before we went to Disneyland that, oh yeah, the Haunted Mansion was going to be rethemed for the Nightmare Before Christmas, which is something that has been happening now since 2001. So it's been happening for almost, 25 years at this point, which is pretty awesome and a pretty big deal. And I made mention of this to you, and you hadn't really brought it up to me. And it turns out that the reason for that was you didn't care. You'd never even seen this movie. So I said, we need to rectify that. So let's go watch it. And then we went to Disney and we saw it. And if you're ever in Disneyland, between the times of Halloween and Christmas when this is rethemed, make sure you get in that virtual queue because it's amazing. Michaela, you'd only kind of seen this because we watched a little bit of it at the house before we went to Disneyland. You didn't catch all of it that first time, but I think just seeing kind of that transformation of that and just how excited people were for it was probably kind of epic in itself.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's one of those films now that is, I mean, it's a classic. And I guess now we can say that because it is over 30 years old.
Hmm.
But it's right up there, I think, where people do this in between the American Thanksgiving and Christmas, or in between Halloween and Christmas. This is a staple in a lot of people's houses, and it's become this whole world. They had talk about doing a second one. I'm so glad in many ways that they have not. I mean, who knows? I mean, Beetlejuice came out and that was fine. That was actually refreshingly good. So we'll see. But this is so, I don't know. It's such a nice story. I don't know why I didn't watch it. I think I wanted to buck the system, to be honest. And I think I might have gotten enough of Tim Burton with Batman, perhaps, or Batman Returns, because that was around the same time, I want to say. And so I was kind of over it. I don't know, but I love Beetlejuice, so I don't know why I wouldn't have watched this, but I promised that I didn't until like a month ago. And then I was like, why did, and then we watched it. I watched it again for the purpose of the podcast, just to refresh my memory on everything. And I was like,
Hmm.
man, this is good. Why did I watch this 30 years ago? So I got to
Yeah,
make
and
up for lost time.
certainly at the time, Tim Burton would have been probably, at least, one of the most recognizable names in Hollywood in terms of directors, right? I mean, you just had Batman Returns, I think came out in 1992. You'd had Beetlejuice was in, I think, 1989, right? You had Edward Scissorhands around that time. So, Tim Burton was as, you know, much a household name as pretty much anyone in Hollywood was at that time, which is why his name, gets plastered all over this thing. In terms of the actual movie making, I don't think that he really contributed much other than the story. I guess you would drop by, from time to time, but it didn't sound like Henry Selick ever really thought that he was there too much, and it was more of that Henry Selick was tasked with making a Tim Burton film, versus kind of
Mm.
the other way around, which is kind of interesting. I think you mentioned kind of the pieces of this and being successful. Well, as it turns out, when it was first originally released, it was released by Touchstone Pictures, which is a movie studio that Disney owns or owned, at the time, because they didn't want to put it on Disney because they thought that it was going to be a little bit too spooky, a little bit too
Yep.
scary for all those kids out there, all those Disney kids. Suck it up, Disney kids, because now Disney is all over this. If you want anything that is Halloween themed, Nightmare Before Christmas, you go for it. They have it out there. You want anything in the world that is Christmas themed, Nightmare Before Christmas, you go for it because it is out there. Ornaments, clothes, bedding, backpacks. Anything. You can get anything.
Anything.
And I've got a lot of it here for sure. Made a lot of money, Michaela. It only cost about $18 million to make. That's pretty cheap for a movie this monumental. Brought in $50 million, kind of in the initial run, and it's up to about $108 million through its various releases. Kind of over the years, it seems like it gets re-released into the theater every couple of years. And then of course with, Coraline kind of coming out from the same, filmmakers and things like that, breathe life back into it, whatever that was, about 15 years on and things like that. And The Nightmare Before Christmas, as you said, it became a staple for a lot of people. And certainly for me, as I mentioned at the top, I watch this every Halloween and every Christmas. And I watch it now. I'll probably watch it at least one more time before Christmas. Hour and 20 minutes. Just it's like having a soundtrack on, basically, except it
Yeah.
looks great.
Yeah. Oh, it does look really good. Um, It does look really good. I wish that there could have been 2 awards for best visual effects that year because
So Cliffhanger could get one. Yeah.
Cliffhanger. Oh my gosh. I don't know. It was so, I just find the direction of it so special. And it's probably because it's still early on in my lifetime with watching this, right? It's only been a couple of times that I've seen it. But yeah, I can't wait to dig into it further because there are so many details and like the characters that are in the behind, like in the background, the way that they do that for the Christmas scene and for Halloweentown in general. It's just super cool.
Yeah.
So if you've not seen it, you've been living under a rock like me, get out from under the rock, go watch this. It is fine to watch for kids, maybe not like under the age of 5 if they're particularly sensitive, but my kiddo loved this and he was like, I can't believe, Mom, that you don't watch it because he's watched it more than me. It's ridiculous.
Well, there you go. Yeah, so definitely give it a watch. And like Michaela said, every time you watch it now, you'll pick up something else. Everything that they animate, in this way takes, hundreds of hours. So, just hundreds of hours spent to have every little bug and skeleton and things in there. And it's pretty amazing stuff. So let us know at home if this was the first time you ever watched Nightmare Before Christmas, if you're like Michaela out there, or if you're like me, a sane and sensible person that watches it twice a year. Let us know all that stuff. And if you decide to make up a Nightmare Before Christmas cocktail, or if you have a different, better one that we should be checking out, let us know that. So you can do that on our social medias. It's at Drink the Movies on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Facebook.com/Drink the Movies. You can go to our website, which is www.drinkthemovies.com. That's where we're going to have pictures of our cocktail, episode recaps, links to Drink the Video Games, links to the merchandise shop, and links to our Patreon. Go check that out. It's a great resource. We just used it the other day to go make our annual batch of eggnog. Pulled that right up. It's right on there. So go check that out. And as I mentioned, Patreon, we've got our hangout we just had was amazing time. We do bonus episodes, bonus content, votes. We've got a Patreon section of our Discord, all that stuff. It's patreon.com/drink the movies. And we appreciate our patrons over there so much. So Michaela, now that everyone has watched Nightmare Before Christmas, now that you have watched Nightmare Before Christmas, we can get into the real deal of Christmas films for this year. We're going to be doing an episode a week, our lobby bar every week, and people are going to want to make sure they're subscribed for all the fun. So where can they do that?
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, anywhere where Spotify podcasts are distributed and supported. We do 2 drops a week. We do our lobby bar, which is short and sweet, talking about the box office and everything that's happening. We do the deep dives just like this. If you're liking it, go check us out. We have 193 episodes that are out for your listening pleasure. So find your favorite movie. I guarantee we've done something you've seen. But if you want to go the extra mile, share our stuff on social media, leave the 5-star reviews wherever you're listening to it. We have the best job in the world, and we can't do it without your listenership. We appreciate it so much. Keep sharing because that is how we get more of the Drink the Movies joy out there.
Absolutely. So that is going to wrap it up here for Nightmare Before Christmas. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time on
Drink the Movies.
The Movies. There's nothing more suspicious than frog's breath.
What's this? He's like a child seeing snow for the first time. It's so infectiously lovely.
It's pretty great. It's basically a story about how when you go on vacation somewhere and you're like, hey, I should just live here forever now. That's what Jack does.